We today are looking at a Master GMAT sentence correction question. My name is Isaac and I'm going to walk you through this. So if you've already done these, you already know that if you'd like to give this a go on your own before listening to the explanations, then simply pause the recording for a couple of minutes or fewer if you can, and try to figure this out, and then unpause it to listen to the explanation. So if you want to go ahead and try, pause the recording now. Okay, welcome back. So, what are we looking at over here? Well, as we know in sentence corrections, what do we do first? Well, we have a work order here at Master GMAT, and the first step in the work order is fairly obvious, of course. It's to read the sentence, but what we need to look for is anywhere between 0 and 2 grammatical errors. So grammar errors first, and you're looking for between 0 and 2. 0 meaning there are no errors, which would mean answer choice A, usually. However, what do we see over here? Well, we have to pay attention to our stop signs. Our stop signs are those little red flags that tell us to stop, think, double check matters, as based on the lessons you would have already learned, of course. So, what are our stop signs here? Do we see any stop signs, any obvious stop signs? Well, right away, we have the word using over here. And chances are that an ing at the beginning of a sentence, which then is separated by, the rest with a comma, is going to indicate some kind of modifier. So we obviously have to check whether the thing modified is being modified correctly. So let's just read this quickly. Using a brush soaked in water, a stroke can be smeared that is made with watercolor pencils. So first stop sign, using. Using a brush soaked in water. What or whom or who is using a brush soaked in water? Well, it would seem that a stroke is using a brush soaked in water. That makes no sense. A stroke cannot be using a brush soaked in water. It's actually kind of illogical. So there we have a dangling modifier error right away. Next thing we can check, of course, is we have another stop sign. Take a look. That is made with watercolor pencils. Well, that's a clause, and it starts with the relative pronoun that. Now, when we have a relative pronoun, we have to make sure that the thing being described actually agrees. And what else do we need to check? Well, that the verb afterwards is okay as well. But first things first, that is supposed to describe a thing, a noun generally. But what is it describing? What comes right before it? Take a look. Smeared, or can be smeared. Now, can we say smeared is made with watercolor pencils? No, of course not. Okay, so we have a verb here that is being modified by the rest of the clause here, which makes no sense. What is really supposed to be smeared over here? Well, chances are that it's a stroke that is made with watercolor pencils that is smeared. So right away we can eliminate answer choice A, and we can eliminate any answer choices that contain the same errors, which is step 2, of course. So we can get rid of right away. Let's take a look at B over here. A stroke can be smeared that is made with watercolor pencils by using brush soaked in water. Okay, well, take a look. Can be smeared that. Well, we have the same error as previously, right, with the relative pronoun, so we could get rid of that right away. By the way, if you're not sure, let's just click on that for the hell of it. Okay. This is our time awareness tool, of course, makes us super aware of how long it takes us to answer each question, which is obviously going to be super, super important the further into the training you are before the GMAT. We click on the OK. Now, obviously, we grossly underestimate our time because we're talking here. You're not doing it on your own. But take a look. We have, of course, a beautiful explanation over here, concise, to the point, and the stop sign itself, what that red flag is, what you're supposed to pay attention to. And of course, if you're not sure, then you can just simply go back to the summary of the actual lesson by clicking on one of these. Kind of cool too. Furthermore, if you're not sure, you can always send a comment and we'll answer you back, of course. So, based on this information now, we get to try again. We're not just going to spoon feed you the answer. So, going back to this, you see how B is blocked out. We know A is wrong, B is blocked out. So what do we have next? We have C, D, and E. So C, using a brush soaked in water, a person can create a smeared stroke that is made with watercolor pencils. Well, what do we have here? It would seem that we fixed the dangling modifier mistake. Now we know that it's a person who is using a brush soaked in water. Not only that, but it also seems that we fixed our relative pronoun mistake over here. That is made refers back to the stroke, and indeed it is the stroke that is made with watercolor pencils. If we're not sure, of course, we keep it. We have to check out the rest of the answer choices. We never know. Maybe there's something a little more concise out there. So, in D, what do we have? Using a brush soaked in water that is made with watercolor pencils. Hold on a second. Hold on. Take a look. It would seem that we fixed the dangling modifier using a brush. The person is using a brush. However, take a look at where this new clause is. That is made with watercolor pencils. What is made with watercolor pencils? The thing that comes before it, which is water. Does it make sense to say water is made with watercolor pencils? No, that does not make any sense whatsoever. So we obviously have a problem of logic over here, okay, and a whole change of meaning, and we can't have that. So we get rid of that. Let's look at the last one. Using a brush soaked in water, a person's strokes that is made with watercolor pencils can be smeared. Okay, so we now know that it's a person using a brush soaked in water. However, look at what happens after the relative pronoun. The strokes, right, is made. Now, strokes is singular or plural? Well, of course, we know that strokes is plural. However, that is made, singular or plural? Singular. So here we have another grammatical error. We have a subject-verb agreement mistake. You can't have strokes is made. Strokes are made. Therefore, we can eliminate that as well. And of course, we're left with C, what we originally thought, and that is indeed the correct answer. Okay, so that's how we attack this little dangling modifier question, relative pronoun question. And of course, if you ever wanted to check the other explanations, you can always do so. Or you can just keep going with our beautifully adaptive course. Okay, so until next time, we'll try another one of these. Take care.